tonight. Canada's capital is a ghost town, a monument to failed leadership and national decay. The city isn't just struggling. It has been brought to a grinding, screeching halt, completely paralyzed by the very workers who once kept its heart beating. Nearly 500 Blue Line taxi drivers have launched an all-out strike, an act of open rebellion that has not only shut down Ottawa but has ripped the mask off the rotten, collapsing system festering under Mark Carney's catastrophically weak leadership. This isn't a simple labor dispute. It's the first tremor of a nationwide economic earthquake, a raw, unfiltered snapshot of Canada's deeper collapse. The trigger for this uprising was a brutal, calculated assault from their own employer, Coventry Connection, with an arrogance that defies belief. The corporation unilaterally decided to impose working conditions, a sterile corporate phrase for what is, in reality, a declaration of war. They jacked up the stand fees the monthly tribute drivers must pay simply for the right to work by more than $100. The numbers themselves tell a story of pure predation, a leap from $435 a month to a staggering $550. That's a punishing 38% average increase over 3 years. A crushing financial blow delivered to workers already scraping to survive, and the company's justification, after a full decade without a contract, a decade of silence and neglect. They claim this fee hike is necessary to compete with the ride-sharing business. Do not be fooled. This isn't about competition. It's about extortion. The drivers, who delivered a resounding 93% strike mandate, see it for what it is, an act that feels nothing short of criminal. To add insult to injury, the company claims the drivers are not locked out and can work if they choose. It's a disgusting piece of corporate doublespeak. The translation is simple. They can continue to work if they are willing to be exploited. That isn't a choice. It's a threat. The fallout was immediate and humiliating. At the Ottawa train station, the real-world consequences of this leadership vacuum are on full display. A traveler named Rander Burke steps off his train expecting to find a line of cabs ready to serve the nation's capital. Instead, he is met with an empty curb and the stark reality of abandonment. He is forced to turn to Uber, not out of preference, but for the basic peace of mind that he won't be left stranded. This is more than an inconvenience. It is a national disgrace. The fact that a G7 nation cannot even guarantee a taxi for its visitors is irrefutable proof that the system is broken, collapsing from the inside out. While tourists and citizens are left confused and waiting in the cold, foreign tech companies are swooping in to eat the market alive, completely unchecked. This chaos is a direct indictment of Mark Carney, who has remained utterly silent. He lets corporations squeeze workers dry and then shrugs while families suffer. This is the Canadian model under his watch. Workers pay more, companies take more, and leadership vanishes when it counts. It's the predictable, pathetic result of weak globalist policies that value big business over hardworking people. In Trump's America, this never would have happened. A deal would have been on the table by morning. Jobs would have been protected, and the country would have kept moving. The Ottawa strike isn't just a local story. It is a case study in failed governance and a terrifying omen of the chaos poised to devour the entire country. But make no mistake, the firestorm erupting on the streets of Ottawa wasn't a random accident or a simple labor dispute. It is a direct and damning indictment, a blazing symptom of the catastrophic disease that is Mark Carney's leadership. While nearly 500 drivers were forced to abandon their livelihoods, fighting for their very survival, Carney and his government offered nothing but a deafening silence and a pathetic, insulting shrug. This isn't just a local inconvenience that will blow over. This is a raw, unfiltered snapshot of Canada's deeper collapse, a nation grinding to a halt under a leader who is completely absent. His inaction is not a policy. It is a confession of his own incompetence. Instead of standing with the working men and women of his country, Carney has unambiguously chosen his side. He stands with the insatiable, bottomless greed of corporations and their hollow, empty promises. He presides over what can only be described as the Canadian model, a brutal system where workers are forced to pay more, companies are allowed to take more, and leadership vanishes the second it counts. While corporations are given a green light to squeeze every last dollar out of their employees, families are left to suffer the consequences of vanishing jobs and skyrocketing costs that make it impossible to budget for a future. This isn't an accident. It is the predictable, pathetic result of weak failed globalist policies that explicitly value big business over the hardworking people who form the backbone of the nation. Carney's silence shows you everything you need to know when Canada's workers fight back. Their leaders are nowhere to be found. Now, cast a stark, painful contrast to what real, decisive leadership looks like. In Trump's America, this national disgrace would never have been allowed to fester for a single day, before the sun even rose. Trump would have dragged both the company and the union to the table and hammered out a tough deal, a deal that protected workers, secured jobs, and kept the country's wheels turning. He understood that a functioning economy depends on strong leadership and decisive action, not hiding behind mediators and babbling about a financial crisis. While Trump was cutting deals that strengthened industries and gave families an economic future they could actually plan for, Carney is presiding over a dumpster fire of strikes, chaos, and rising costs. The chaos in Ottawa is the direct consequence of this surrender. Carney's weakness has created a vacuum, allowing foreign tech companies like Uber to swoop in and eat the market alive, completely unchecked, while domestic workers are being crushed and local industries are left to bleed out. The government is content to simply hand the market over to outsiders and then shrug when its own citizens are left stranded on the curb, abandoned. This isn't leadership. It's a deliberate betrayal. It's watching your country be intentionally broken by a weak leader, while knowing a strong one would have saved it. Just when you thought the bleeding could be contained to the nation's capital, you were wrong. The chaos gripping Ottawa isn't a freak accident or a localized fire. It's a plague of incompetence, and it's spreading with terrifying speed. The next domino is already teetering, ready to fall. Montreal, one of Canada's largest and most vital economic hubs, is about to be plunged into the exact same paralysis. This is no longer a series of isolated incidents. This is a nation unraveling in real time, falling apart city by city, proving that the rot goes all the way to the top. Canada isn't just breaking down in one place, it's disintegrating before our very eyes. Starting September 22nd, Montreal's very lifeline will be severed. An army of 2,400 unionized STM maintenance workers, the invisible heroes who keep the city's heart pumping, will walk off the job. This isn't a minor disruption. It is a full-scale systemic shutdown on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The city's arteries will clog and die. The bus and metro services that millions of people rely on to get to work, to school, or back home to their families will grind to a halt. This isn't a glitch in the system. This is the system itself in a state of catastrophic collapse. So why are these workers being forced to take such drastic action? It's not greed. It's pure desperation. They have been backed into a corner by a management that offers them nothing but contempt. The leadership's proposed deal was a pathetic slap in the face, a raise of just 12.5% spread out over 5 long years, while runaway inflation is eating their wages alive every single month. These workers are watching their jobs being systematically threatened by subcontracting, relocation, and the constant, gnawing instability of a broken system. They have no other choice but to fight back against a leadership that refuses to listen. And what is the brilliant, decisive solution for Mark Carney's Canada to this impending disaster? They're telling citizens to check a website for reduced schedules. That is their answer. Not leadership, not negotiation. Not a solution, just a link to a web page documenting their own failure. While a major city descends into chaos, the people in charge are hiding behind mediators and babbling on about a financial crisis. Compare that to Trump's America. Trump would never let unions and companies drag citizens through this kind of endless, paralyzing dispute. He would have pushed both sides to the table and demanded a deal that kept the country moving. He understood that a functioning economy depends on strong, decisive action, not pathetic excuses. In Carney's Canada, the complete opposite is true. Ottawa's taxis are gone. Montreal's public transit is about to be gutted. Citizens will be left stranded. Jobs will be disrupted. And businesses will suffer. The Montreal strike isn't just about buses and metros. It's irrefutable proof that the entire country is failing under a leader who is utterly incompetent. This is the bigger picture they never wanted you to see. The paralyzed streets of Ottawa and the impending shutdown of Montreal are not separate tragedies. They are the final, agonizing death rattles of a nation in free fall, unraveling before our very eyes. This is what a country looks like when it can no longer keep its own cities running, when its essential services, taxis, buses, metros are all crumbling to dust because the entire system has been poisoned from the top down. This isn't a series of unfortunate events. This is a pattern of systemic failure, a nation falling apart city by city, and it lays bare a horrifying truth about the state of Canada under Mark Carney. The chaos is not the problem. It is the final, undeniable symptom of a country that is already dead inside. The truth of this collapse is brutally simple. There is a complete breakdown of the social contract. The workers who keep the country moving no longer trust the management that exploits them. The management, driven by corporate greed, clearly does not care about the workers they are crushing underfoot. And worst of all, the government, led by Carney, does not care about either of them. It is content to stand by and watch the country burn. While the government babbles on about a financial crisis and hides behind a pathetic wall of mediators and excuses, the nation's vital functions are ceasing one by one. This isn't just failed leadership. It is a full-blown surrender. A public admission that the people in charge are either unable or unwilling to govern. This surrender is the defining feature of Mark Carney's tenure. He has proven, beyond any doubt, that he could never stand up to the global pressures the way Trump does. Trump understood competition. He leveled the playing field and cut tough deals that kept American industries alive and demanded accountability. When faced with a crisis, he pushed both sides to the table and forced a deal to happen because he knew that a functioning economy depends on strong, decisive action, not pathetic excuses. He would never have allowed a major city to be paralyzed by endless disputes. In Carney's Canada, the opposite is true. He hides behind weak globalist policies that do not work, policies that value big business over hardworking people every single time. He watches local industries bleed out while foreign tech companies swoop in to dominate the market, and then has the audacity to shrug when citizens are left abandoned on the curb. Make no mistake, this is not bad luck. The source material makes the most damning accusation of all. This is intentional. This collapse is the calculated result of a failed ideology, a deliberate choice to let the nation's workers fail in service of a globalist playbook that has been proven to be a disaster. The government shrugs while families suffer because, in their view, it is a necessary casualty. Under Trump, deals would have gotten done, workers would have been protected, and the nation would have moved forward with strength and confidence. Under Carney, Canada is left stranded. A nation adrift without a captain, intentionally steered into the storm. So as you watch Ottawa's taxis vanish and Montreal's transit system grind to a halt, remember this, because it is the only lesson that matters now. Weak leaders break countries. Strong ones save them. Canada is being broken, and the person holding the hammer is the one who was supposed to protect it.